Hey friends, it's me, the Ebony Otaku, the well-rounded nerd. Thank you all for getting me to my first 500 subscribers. I know that means nothing in the grand YouTube algorithm, but to me it means a lot. And as promised, nerdy prize. So if you are a fan of the Warhammer, I picked up a deck of the Dark Angels data cards of the current series, which I know it works. But these are great little collector's items because you get to learn more about the lore, the armor, and all that kind of cool stuff. These are a whole lot of fun. So the way that it works to be able to choose someone randomly, because if I just picked out of my subscriber count, that's unfair because there's no way to prevent bias. The way that all of those pickers work is you have a video that you let everyone comment on, and you put that video link into the randomizer, and then it spits out a user, and that's how we choose a winner. So this is the video to comment on if you would like to win these as my thank you prize for subscribing to my channel. I would absolutely love for someone to win these, and if you would like that to be you, please comment below on this video. No entry fee necessary. I'm just going to DM you via YouTube. We're not going to be weird. We're going to DM via YouTube, and I'll get your address, and I will get this mailed out to you. So if you would like that to be yours, comment below. But to celebrate this auspicious occasion, I had to choose another story that was worthy of hitting 500 subscribers. I have another great prize that's going to be for 1,000 subscribers, but it is still out in that U-box in the driveway. So, and you're gonna like it because it's really good. It was an action figure I can't believe somebody gave me. So I have no problem giving it away because it was given to me, but it's really cool, and some happy nerd out there is really gonna want it. But I'll leave this video up forever. But next week, this time, and give it a week, and I'm gonna give everyone a fair chance to comment, and then I will do the randomizer to pick a winner. But I had to pick something really, really good. To celebrate, to start reading. And we're going to, of course, Warhammer's not going anywhere. I'm going to pick back up on The Hobbit again, eventually, when I want to. I'm just more doing that for myself than y'all, because I love The Hobbit. But what else can we read? What else can we add to our repertoire that would fit the channel? Would anything else work? Yeah, y'all, we're going into Dune. Seemed like the appropriate time to get into Dune as far as reading, because unless you've been under a rock, there's a new production of Dune out there. Zendaya's Dune. Don't come for me. But no, seriously, at least in my memory, there have been 3 attempts to adapt Dune for live action media, which is really hard to do. If you've ever read the series of novels by Frank Herbert, one, they're difficult. Let's just not pretend they're not. They're all the Silmarillion in terms of difficulty. But then also the way that they're written, the stream of consciousness that he uses, it can be hard to follow. And then because the full story is so complex, it makes no stinking sense unless you read the entire thing. Most of the live action media has only stuck to this much of the story. The story that you're usually introduced to is that of Paul Atreides. Paul Atreides is the son of Leto Atreides and the Bene Gesserit priestess nun Jessica. The Bene Gesserits are interesting because they believe in the eugenics. They believe in genetic manipulation to produce the ideal, the perfect human specimen. Specifically, they're trying to produce the savior of humanity through eugenics, the Queensnecks. And they give all of their nuns, priestesses, if they marry out of the order, they are given to specific men to marry to produce specific offspring. And over thousands of years, millennia, they have just been playing genetic chess trying to get to the savior of mankind. When Jessica is given to Leto Atreides as his wife, she is given very strict orders to be controlling what she gives birth to. No men. You are to have females only. You're not giving birth to the savior of mankind, which I know, science, we know the sperm controls the gender of the baby. Somehow they done figured out how to do that themselves internally. Whatever, we're gonna go with it. But Jessica messes up and actually falls in love with Leto. And when he desires to have a son, she gives him a son. And that's how Paul is born. But Dune is actually not the story of Paul Atreides. It starts with him, but the story, the salvation of mankind, actually comes through Paul's son, Leto's grandson, Leto II. Paul Atreides and Zendaya. Paul Atreides and his concubine have twins. I'm sorry. They have twins, of which Leto II is one. They have a boy and a girl. And they are very special because we all know, spoiler alert, Paul Atreides is the Kingsack Satarak. He's a human able to transmute the water of life. Yeah, we know that. But that's where most of the story's in. He is the Kingsack Satarak. Y'all know the part. So it usually ends there. There's more to it. So when his concubine gives birth, the concubine has also been a drinker of the water of life and transmuted it. And the water of life, if you ingest it while you're pregnant, will cause the fetuses to become what are called preborn, which means thousands of pre-lived lives are now in their little infant memories. So they are basically existing before existing and always existing at the same time. It's real interesting. Well, I'm going to have to edit that out. My video lagged. I was trying to fix it and get my camera to track with me again because it just stopped. But anywho, so these twins are preborn. So they show up as infants, basically internally as full-blown adults, but not just one adult, thousands of adults. And as they grow, their challenge will be to take control of all of those other lives that are already in them. Almost think about it as like a reverse Alucard. You seen Helsing? You seen Helsing Unlimited? Now Alucard, all the people he bit and ate over the centuries, they're all in him. And he can release them if he wants to. But they didn't go out biting anyone. It just happened because water of life pregnancy. That was the best way I could explain that. And somehow, to a nerd, I feel like that was going to make total sense. It is Leto Atreides II who Dune is really about. He is going to be the real savior of humanity, and he goes through quite the interesting arc. I don't even know if you can call it a character arc, a life arc. You have to experience it to understand it. But he sets forth literally like a 3,000-year plan of manipulation on a level even the Bene Jesuits couldn't even have comprehended, of bringing humanity together by giving them the perception of a common enemy. But it takes thousands of years for them to get there. And ultimately, Leto II will willingly sacrifice himself for the sake of humans continuing in space and on all the worlds that they conquer. I think part of the lasting love of Dune, especially that first movie, which, it's interesting if you haven't seen it. Go watch it. You see a version of Captain Picard you hadn't seen before. But I think the reason that it got the cult status was like with the original Star Wars movies, it felt like what it would really be like for humans to live in space. That second iteration of Dune, as I recall, it didn't do very well, the one that the Sci-Fi Channel did. It was too shiny. And that's the best way I can say it. I'm never one to really criticize art because high art is hard to produce. I don't have $100 million to go out making movies, so thank you to all the people who produce nerd media. Appreciate it. Keep doing the Lord's work. But I think the reason it didn't resonate with people was because when you take a story like Dune or the story of Luke Skywalker, it's gritty. And they have an aesthetic that should say to the watcher, or read to the reader that this is how humans would actually exist in space. Like they're out there with duct tape and paper clips holding these ships together. Like Han Solo and Chewie, pulling up floorboards in the Millennium Falcon while they're trying to get away from folks. That felt real. Another reason it felt real is when those movies were made. CGI wasn't what it is today, so everything wasn't CGI'd to death. So everything felt real because it was real. A lot of those big scapes and landscapes you saw in movies back then were matte paintings by very talented artists, and they would put little points of animation in them to look like a full city. So they would paint a landscape that's a planet, a city, a hive city, whatever it needed to be, a forest, a plain, a desert, whatever. And then talented animators would go on top of that and give it points of movement, and your eye sees the reality of an entire world that's been hand painted. When you saw creatures that weren't human, they felt real because they were real. They were animatronics, they were puppets, they were prosthetics or makeup. Very talented artisans, and I think that's something that's lost. I kind of hate that they're not going to continue the new Dark Crystal series because it has that same feeling. It feels real because it's real. They made everything just about. There's not a ton of CGI involved, but to make movies that way, physically, it's a lot of work. The way we make movies now is still a lot of work. It's just work on the computer. It's a different kind of work. But physically, it's a lot of work to make a movie that way, which is why the trend to CGI. Actors are hanging from strings and all that kind of stuff. Poor little stuntmen getting flipped everywhere. But everything behind them, is being done by a computer. It's why, what was it? Can't remember the name of it. Mad Max Fury Road. That's why it was so popular, because the effects were real. There wasn't a ton of CGI in there. They were doing the stunts. The cars were flipping. The explosions were happening. And I think that the new production of Dune, that they might be finding a good medium. So they've got the shiny, but it's not too shiny. And it's got realism, but it's not too real. It's just real enough. So they might be striking a good balance. It hit well enough to get a sequel. So we'll see if they carry through the entire story. They can't do it in 3 movies. If you read these books, they can't do it in 3 movies. There's just no stinking way. But it's going to be interesting to see how they develop the story, because when you get way on in to like the Children of Dune and some other spots, it's like, oh, well, that was an artistic choice. That's where we're going. Oh, okay, well, it's your book, Frank Herbert. You do what makes you happy. So I said all that to say this. We're going to start reading Dune. And to be fair, it's out of the copyright rules, so I can read the whole thing if I want to. I ain't gonna. But we'll read selections. I will eventually read through the entire Hobbit. But we're going to read selections, and I figure a good place to start is at the very beginning. I have not read this in a very long time. So this is going to be a cold reading, and we're going to accept it the way that it is. So let's get to Dune by Frank Herbert. Book 1. A beginning is the time for taking the most delicate care that the balances are correct. This every sister of the Bene Gesserit knows. To begin your study of the life of Muad'Dib, then take care that you first place him in his time. Born in the 57th year of the Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV, and take the most special care that you locate Muad'Dib in his place, the planet Arrakis. Do not be deceived by the fact that he was born on Caladan and lived his first 15 years there. Arrakis, the planet known as Dune, is his forever place. From the Manual of Muad'Dib by the Princes of Irulan. In the week before their departure to Arrakis, when all the final scurrying about had reached a nearly unbearable frenzy, An old crone came to visit the mother of the boy, Paul. It was a warm night at Castle Caledon. An ancient pile of stone that had served the Atreides family as home for 26 generations bore that cold sweat feeling it acquired before a change in the weather. The old woman was let in by a side door down the vaulted passages by Paul's room, and she was allowed a moment to peer in at him where he lay in his bed. By the half-light of a sun spencer lamp, dimmed and hanging near the floor, the boy awakened, could see a bulky female shape at his door, standing one step ahead of his mother. The old woman was a witch shadow, hair like matted spider webs, hooded round darkness of features, eyes glittering like jewels. "Is he not small for his age, Jessica?" the old woman asked, her voice wheezed and twanged like an untuned ballast. Paul's mother answered in a soft contralto. "The Atreides are known to start late getting their growth, Your Reverence." So I've heard, wheezed the old woman. "Yet he's already 15. "Yes, Your Reverence." "He's awake and listening to us," said the old woman. "Sly little rascal," she chuckled. "But royalty has need of slyness, and if he's really the Queensack Haderach, well..." Within the shadows of his bed, Paul held his eyes open to mere slits. Two bird-bright ovals, the eyes of the old woman seemed to expand and glow as they stared into his. "Sleep well, you sly little rascal," said the old woman. "Tomorrow you'll need all your faculties to meet my Gom Jabbar." And she was gone, pushing his mother out, closing the door with a solid thump. Paul lay awake, wondering, what's a Gom Jabbar? In all the upset during this time of change, the old woman was the strangest thing he had seen. "Your Reverence." And the way she called his mother Jessica like a common serving witch instead of what she was, a Bene Gesserit lady, a duke's concubine, and mother of the ducal heir. Is a Gom Jabbar something of Arrakis I must know before we go there? He wondered. He mouthed her strange words. Gom Jabbar, Queensack Haderach. There had been so many things to learn. Arrakis would be a place so different from Caledon that Paul's mind whirled with the new knowledge. Arrakis, DUNE, desert planet. The Fear What, his father's master of assassins, had explained it all. Their mortal enemies, the Harkonnens, had been on Arrakis 80 years, holding the planet in quasi-fief under Kaom, company contract to mine the geriatric spice, melange. Now, the Harkonnens were leaving to be replaced by the House of Atreides in fief complete, an apparent victory for the Duke Leto. Yet, Hawat had said this appearance contained the deadliest peril, for the Duke Leto was popular among the great houses of the Landsraad. A popular man arouses jealousy of the powerful, Hawat had said. Arrakis, DUNE, desert planet. Paul fell asleep to dream of an Arakan cavern, silent people all around him moving in the dim light of glow globes, It was solemn there and like a cathedral as he listened to a faint sound of the drip, drip, drip of water. Even while he remained in the dream, Paul knew he would remember it upon awakening. He always remembered the dreams that were predictions. The dream faded. Paul awoke to feel in the warmth of his bed, thinking. This world of Castle Caladan, without play or companions his own age, perhaps he did not deserve sadness and farewell. Dr. Yue, his teacher, had hinted that the Farfretulous class system was not rigidly guarded on Arrakis. The planet's sheltered people who lived at the desert edge without Cade or Bashar to command them. Will o' the Sand people called the Fremen, marked down on no census of Imperial Reject. Arrakis, DUNE, desert planet. Paul sensed his own tensions, decided to practice one of the mind-body lessons his mother had taught him. 3 quick breaths triggered the response. He fell into the floating awareness, focusing the consciousness, aortal dilation, avoiding the unfocused mechanism of consciousness, to be conscious by choice. Blood enriched and swift flooding overload regions. One does not obtain food, safety, freedom by instinct alone. Animal consciousness does not extend beyond the given moment, nor into the idea that its victims may become extinct. The animal destroys and does not produce. Animal pleasures remain close to sensation levels and avoid the perceptual. The human requires a background grid through which to see his universe. Focus consciousness by choice, this forms your grid. Bodily integrity follows nerve blood flowing according to the deepest awareness of cell needs. All things, cells, beings are impertinent. Strive for flow permanence within. Over and over within Paul's floating awareness, the lesson rolled. When dawn touched Paul's window sill with yellow light, he sensed it through closed eyelids, opened them, hearing then the renewed bustle and hurry in the castle, seeing the familiar patterned beams of his bedroom ceiling. The hall door opened and his mother peered in, hair like shaded bronze, held with black ribbon at the crown, her oval face emotionless, and green eyes staring solemnly. "You're awake," she said. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes." He studied the tallness of her, saw the hint of tension in her shoulders as she chose clothing for him from the closet racks. Another might have missed the tension, but she trained him in the Bene Gesserit way, in the minute observation. She turned, holding a semi-formal jacket for him. It carried the red Atreides hawk crest above the breast pocket. "Hurry and dress," said the Reverend Mother. She said, "Reverend Mother is waiting." "I dreamed of her once," said Paul. "Who is she?" "She was my teacher at the Bene Gesserit school. Now she's the Emperor's truth-sayer. And Paul," she hesitated, "you must not tell her about your dreams." "I will. Is she the reason I will go to Arrakis?" "We did not get Arrakis." Jessica flicked dust from a pair of trousers, hung them with a jacket on the dressing stand beside his bed. "Don't keep Reverend Mother waiting." Paul sat up, hugged his knees. "What's a Gom Jabbar?" Again, the training she had given him exposed her almost invisible hesitation, a nervous betrayal he felt as fear. Jessica crossed to the window, flung wide the draperies, stared across the river orchards toward Mount Siubi. You'll learn about the Gom Jabbar soon enough, she said. He heard the fear in her voice and wondered at it. Jessica spoke without turning. Reverend Mother is waiting in my morning room. Please hurry. Great opening chapter. I think part of my love for this story series, of this series of novels, is that it's not unlike Warhammer. Warhammer, if I could talk, Warhammer is the story of a being wanting to unify humanity at a point in its history where humanity is falling all the way apart. And that's kind of the story of DUNE. Paul Atreides, the Queensex Hanerak, who will later be father of Leto II, is the catalyst in this case of the salvation of humanity. He is our Finn Mertens, if you will. If you know, you know. But it's interesting to think about how one person's vision can shape the fates of so many. Paul Atreides is one person, but his birth is the culmination of a lot of genetic and family manipulation over years. Think about what it took to make you. For you to exist as you are right now, a lot of people had to have a lot of sex for you to exist. If the right people at the right time and the right combination didn't happen, there would be no you. If the right people in the right time and the right combination didn't happen, there'd be no Paul Atreides. There's no human that's an accident, because we are all the culmination of the generations that came before us. You are here on purpose. Even if somebody else doesn't see what your purpose is, you have a purpose, and the purpose and vision of your life can have an effect that resounds through the generations. That's kind of inspiring to think about. What one life could do to affect millions and billions throughout history. How many figures in history that we love and admire were born in the most humble and insignificant circumstances? I mean, think about, one of them, Abraham Lincoln, born in Kentucky, nowhere, in the United States, and managed to become the president who was remembered for ending slavery. That's pretty amazing. Or think about some of our favorite authors that exist, born into humble means. Think about Elie Wiesel. He's one of my favorites. And I'm going to warn you, before you read an Elie Wiesel book, I'm going to need you to get all your emotions together, because he's going to take them all away. But Elie Wiesel, who was just an ordinary young man living a life with his family, caught up in the tragedies that took place in World War II, who had to go through living in concentration camps and seeing everyone he loved taken from him and killed in the most brutal ways possible, wrote a series of novels that helped people who did not experience that understand, and for people who did experience or have loved ones who experienced it, have empathy for those who went through that, because I can't imagine my life turning out that way. Being told to leave my home and then be taken somewhere against my will, and who knows what's going to happen next. But small lives, except for extraordinary circumstances, turned small, ordinary lives into extraordinary people, and that could be you as well. Now, granted, to be the son of nobility isn't exactly what most of us would call ordinary, but this was, the 26th generation of this family that had lived in this castle. Nothing out of the ordinary had happened to them. They were just carrying on with life. I'm a duke, get a wife or a concubine, have a son, pass it on. BAU, business as usual. But this son is going to be the catalyst to something special, and his son will be the son to save the world. And that's the other part of destiny. Maybe it's not you. Maybe you're going to be the one to create, inspire, mold the generation that's going to make the incredible change. And I think that's why Dune is such an important story. It lets us all know that we have a place in society, and without you and what you bring to the world, there's something that's not going to work out the way that it should have. And that should give every human being, no matter the circumstances they were born into, a little bit of hope. Because it matters that you're here. A lot took place for you to exist where you are. And you know what? That's worth writing a whole complicated book series about. So I hope you enjoyed this little celebration reading and introduction into Dune. We're definitely going to read more Dune. I have a work trip next week, so I'll be taking Dune, and I'll be taking Dune, The Hobbit, and Fabius Bile with me. So I got 3 days of working, 3 different books to relax with, so that'll be great. And I think I'll do a reading from each and just spread them out over the next few weeks. But I really appreciate you joining me in this. Again, thank you for getting me over 500. If you would like a chance to win my little prize here, just comment on this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. And if you comment, you're entered, and I will contact the winner next weekend via, what's it called? Direct message on YouTube to let you know that you won. Just give me your mailing address, and I will send out this wonderful little prize. I have a really cool action figure that's going to go for the 1,000 subscriber prize. So thanks everyone. I really appreciate you. What do you think of my wall? Isn't my wall cool? I just have to do that part up there on these 2 walls, and like this part's done, and then like my desk goes over there. Like, it's gonna be great. But the new office, it's gonna be the greatest office you've ever seen. Okay, I'm done. All right, y'all have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.